This is a very quick mini lesson on how to write a thesis statement for the argument essay. And the first rule that we always must remember is that we argue ideas and not things. So what does that mean for a thesis statement? We don't want facts or examples or data, anything specific in the thesis statement. We want there to be three universal ideas. And so each universal idea drops down to be the first sentence of each of the three body paragraphs. And so while the thesis statement we're going to call like the main claim thesis statement, the three ideas that drop down to the paragraphs are called claims or topic sentences. So just a reminder, here is the basic essay map, right? So we have our thesis statement with three universal ideas, and then they drop down each universal idea as the first sentence or topic sentence or claim in our essay. So you earn 1 point on the thesis statement out of 5. So that pretty well tells us that we need to do really well at memorizing this thesis statement structure. So here is the structure. While counter argument, comma, your argument. That is all. That is what gets you 1 point on the exam out of 5. So let's take a look at this. The counter argument is in red. So if we're talking about gentrification as the topic, right, and if we understand from our own fund of knowledge or our own experience that gentrification is a process of changing the character of a neighborhood by redeveloping it, making it more expensive so that it brings in a different social class. So the two sides of gentrification, right, would be it is a positive force of redevelopment or it is a negative force of redevelopment. So you would literally, as you get the topic, immediately think, okay, what are the pros and what are the cons? And then you list like 3 universal ideas that go with pro, 3 universal ideas that go with con. So that's it right here. And if you think about like, okay, my personal opinion is that I don't believe gentrification is pro at all. In fact, I think it's an awful practice. But we're not interested in our opinions. You absolutely need to come up with 3 reasons or 3 ideas for pro and 3 for con. So let's take a look at this one real quick. Should we charge an absence or tardy fee? So like if you're absent to school, then you should pay a fine. And if you're tardy to school, you should pay a fine. Now, it doesn't matter what you believe, right? You know that when you see your prompt or your topic, you need to immediately come up with 3 reasons why, yes, we should, and 3 reasons why, no, we should not. So immediately off the top of your head, well, yes, it would support students' short-term success by getting to class. Okay, now if I had short-term in there, right, one trick is to say, to divide it in by thinking in time frames. So can I actually get 2 reasons out of this by saying, all right, let's think about the short term and then let's think about the long-term success. So I could say students' long-term success for beyond high school. It would support that as well. So when I go to write, right, it would support. And then let's think of a real quick, what's another pro to that? I mean, this is off the top of my head. It would create a structure in the school day to help all students. Okay, those are my three. Again, do I necessarily think those things? It doesn't really matter. Okay, so con, off the top of your head, should we create an absence or tardy fee? I want you to pause the video and I want you to think of 3 reasons why no, we should not have an absence or tardy fee. So here's what I came up with off the top of my head. It's too punitive. It's not necessary. It's over the top punishment. It creates a negative attitude towards school. It doesn't solve the problem of being tardy absent. And it causes inequity among students. So I just want to double check. Are these facts? Are these specific examples? Are these like data points? No, they're ideas. They're universal ideas right here. Short-term success, long-term success, structure over here, punishment, attitude, and it still doesn't solve the problem, and inequity. So do you see those big ideas, right? Now, why did I have you develop both sides? Well, you're going to go with the side that you feel you have the most ideas on. So right here, I'm going to go with con. I only have 3 body paragraphs, so I only need to choose 3 of these. Why then did I think about the pro? Well, remember all the work that we've done with counter arguments and rebuttals. Your thesis statement has to start with the counter, with the other side. We call that a concession. Like you are conceding to the other side. You are giving a nod to or acknowledging the other side as a way to launch in to your own position. So I'm going to say, although it would support students' short-term success in getting to class, charging an absence or tardy fee is too punitive, creates a negative attitude towards school, and causes inequity among students. Done. That is my thesis statement. So how did that sound? You bring in one of the sides that you are not going to write about, and then you name the 3 that you are going to write about. And so it looks something like this, right? You brought in the side you're not going to write about. You list your 3 universal ideas on the side that you are going to argue about. So for gentrification, while there are many who argue that gentrification can lead to like revitalization or positive outcomes, comma, it often 1, exploits lower income areas, 2, marginalizes vulnerable communities, and 3, fails at the intended good. So I also have these really great vivid verbs: exploits, marginalizes, fails, right? Those are 3 really vivid verbs that begin each of my 3 universal idea phrases or statements. So when I was creating this gentrification chart, I had 3 reasons why gentrification could be a positive thing, and then 3 reasons why it can be seen as a negative move. And then I decide which one I feel like I have enough to say about, and I'm going to go with that. So it's super important that the first thing you do is create that T-chart with both sides, and you come up with ideas for both sides really quickly. Again, why? Because your thesis statement has to begin with that counter argument. While some may say, in fact, your argument. And then this is what the thesis language looks like. So since, again, a concession is conceding to or naming or giving a nod to the other side. Since, counter, however, mine, right? Because universal idea 1, 2, and 3. So I want you to take a picture of this slide, really understand this slide, memorize it. Just pick one of these. Just do a while, counter argument, however, my argument, because UI 1, 2, 3. And really, we need to memorize this. You will have opportunities to show that you understand this structure. We're going to be doing thesis check quizzes. So please, please memorize this slide. Again, only really worry if you just want to memorize like one of the beginnings. You don't have to memorize all of them, and memorize like maybe this one and then this one. You don't have to do all of the different. So you can always organize your thesis and your overall argument essay by splitting it into 3 different buckets, and most of the time dividing it by economic, health or mental health, education, technology, equal opportunity. Those ideas would match a lot of different argument prompts that you would get. So for instance, here I organized it by the prison reform is necessary for economic, mental health, and short and long-term impacts. Now, this one is a little vague, so I'd have to really define it, what those short and long-term impacts are of reforming prisons, but that is an idea of how to split it. Another way to split it here would be, let's think about like the individual, the community or neighborhood, the global or societal, like society at large. That is another one that can work for almost any prompt that you would get on the argument essay. So if you're thinking about how you can split it by universal idea and you're stuck, or you just want to try this out in the essays that we do in class to see if it works, you can definitely do that. This is an example of how I would attack the gentrification, saying that it causes lasting negative impacts on the individual, economic, and societal levels. And then I continue by saying disproportionately affecting predominantly low-income communities. Now, these are really the big words in your thesis, but they also are important to understand what they mean, the disproportionately affecting predominantly a certain community. And then we have the topic sentences here, or the claims, and this would be the drop down into the essay. So gentrification prevents families from creating and sustaining stable living conditions. So really thinking at the individual family level, we have that vivid verb prevents that matches the word negative in feel or connotation. And then for the economic, steals financial opportunity. And I could have just ended here, but instead I extended it with the word while, which makes a complex sentence and which gives you more points on your writing. So we have the steal, the negative vivid verb that matches the negative impacts in my thesis. And then societal, again, beginning with this not only are, right, is a different way to vary your sentence structure, and then continuing after this long phrase with this comma, but so are, right? So that's something to play around with when you're constructing your sentences. Varying sentences of different structures is important. So that's sort of how you might organize it, even as you right now, before you know what our next argument prompt is going to be. Why not think about things, even hot topics right now in the news? Why not think about them in terms of individual? What is that individual or family impact? What is the larger economic impact? What is the larger global societal impact? And thinking maybe in terms of issues, splitting it this way: mental health, education. What's the impact on education in America because of prison and the school to prison pipeline? All right, so let's just end real quick with the foundational slide for the thesis. While counter argument, comma, your argument, and specifically while counter argument, in fact, your position, what is your claim? Because UI1 2, and 3. And just note that before you have the connecting phrase that switches from the counter argument to your position, you want to have that punctuation of the semicolon, and then after that connecting word, the comma. You don't have to memorize all of these. You could just choose one. While, in fact, right? Just memorize that one. And then every time you write your thesis on the exam, you would begin while, semicolon, in fact, comma, your position, because 1, 2, 3, universal ideas.